Hey, what's up, CAUSENETIC family?
Welcome to the CAUSENETIC podcast.
How about YMCA Metropolitan Dallas?
CAUSENETIC means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energizing.
Hey, we're tackling topics and telling the truth.
I'm Rodrigo Ross.
And I'm Keith Benson.
So, here we go.
Here we go.
The first, another installment of our YUSA Innovation Series. I've said it on other series, and I mean it again today. You will not be disappointed.
Not at all.
To give Alice a shout out to Allison Hubert. She is on her game.
A game.
When she picks the guests for these series because
make me nervous.
Wow. Oh, why? Why are you nervous?
I mean, Margo.
Well, that is true.
Christian.
Fanning out.
I mean, Joe. I mean, come on now.
Fanning out is absolutely. Well, let me finish it out then.
Go for it.
Christian Engle, CEO of the YMCA of the Capital Area, Margo Byrne, CEO of the Channel Islands YMCA, and Joe Kovacek, the Director of Strategy and Quality Practices and Membership at YUSA. Welcome, family, to the CAUSENETIC podcast.
Thank you.
We dance on Fridays.
Right. That's right.
Oh, thanks for being here.
Yes.
So excited to hear about all of the goings-ons that you have in the members experience and innovation space.
Well, let's start it up at the top with Big Joe. Joe, why member experience? Like from your lens and looking out, because you get this global perspective, you see a lot of things in action as it relates to why member experience. What does that really mean, or what it should mean?
Wow, good question.
Yeah, I think when you ask what does member experience mean, I think we got to start with what membership means, right? So,
we're going there.
I'm going there. Right. So, this thing called membership has played so many different roles in our movement and in the Y for decades now, right? And we know what it's been recently. We know the great things that it's been recently, and we know that in some circles, membership's become a little bit of a dirty word, right? That we talk about, we've got really great mission-focused, impact-driven services over here, and then we have membership.
Yeah.
I would argue that membership is one of, if not the greatest way that we can deliver on our mission, right? It's one of the greatest ways that we can deliver social responsibility.
Yeah.
We were just all at General Assembly and heard the Attorney General tell us that we have a loneliness epidemic, right? If membership is all about building belonging, right, then membership is the antidote for this national loneliness epidemic. And so at that point, then to your question of what's the member experience, it's all of the things that all of the people that we engage with, right? It's all the ways that we can build belonging, build community, build purpose in their lives.
Yeah,
lonely. I like that one because when I come in the morning time into the branch, what I see are singers. They're very vibrant singers, mind you. But I see them having fellowship, socialization in this space, and this desire to hang around, not to go do my 30 minutes on the bike or on the treadmill, but it is, I come in at 8:00 and I sit down and have me a cup of coffee. Then I go and get on my bike or I go to my class. And after that, I'm coming in to hang out even more so. And then there's this extended version that people stand there through 4:00 playing games. And so it's like there's that need to be there. Now, if you come and ask some of the singers at my branch, they done got me hooked, not hooked, but addicted to this game called Rummikub. You gotta look it up if you don't play it. And that has become the hot thing. And so now,
You coming to work to play Rummikub and eat pound cake because I've been over to his branch. The pound cake.
Well, I got 2 slices of pound cake waiting for me in the refrigerator.
Right.
And then they done got me talking. I got to talk trash now because Miss Owita, speaking of loan, Miss Owita's 94 years old. Miss Owita, the first time I sat down and played Rummikub, she talked trash. and this is no joke. This part I see, and I don't know if you guys have seen people play dominoes. Those who are serious about dominoes, on that last domino, when they domino, they
slamming it
like
down.
that. Miss Owita, with all that she had, and this is no joke, 94 years old, that thing and said,
Oh man.
You are hurt my little feelings to death.
And that's the member experience.
That's right. Oh, yeah, definitely.
People at any time ever talked about, oh, you know, the way they took my draft money this month was so seamless. Or, you know what, when I was writing my membership dues check, they talked about all the transformational stuff that was happening, not the transactional stuff. And that's what Joe is getting at, right? Like that is at the core. It is a really refreshing approach, Joe. I am so excited to hear that, particularly, you know, from staff at YUSA who, like he said, get to see this globally, right? And see that there is this shift in the narrative and in the mindset and us as an organization, as a movement, redefining what membership is and then what the related experience should be for the folks in our communities. And so I would love to hear from the CEOs, Christian or Margo, you know, just jump in. As a CEO, understanding that we have to move from the transactional. And now, don't get me wrong, we all like money. I love a good payday, okay? I love a good Friday payday. But getting at the transactional space and those things that happen when we innovate in the member experience place, from a CEO's lens, what is your responsibility and how are you pushing to make that happen?
Go ahead, Margo.
I got it. Well, I think first of all, right, to keep going on what Joe said is that, right, we create a space and opportunities and right, the experiences that folks can design what a membership means to them. For us to say this is what a membership means, it's gonna fall short, right? And so I think that is huge, because it could be playing dominoes, you know, in the lobby, but it could be somebody who, right, a single mom who wants to bring their kids in and has nothing to do with dominoes. So, you know, one of the things that we talked about is, right, as a part of all of this membership innovation, and Christian, I don't know, we were part of this for 18 months. It just kept going and kept going. But so, right, our responsibility to the CEO is how do we create those spaces, opportunities, experiences, and do that in a consistent way. So when somebody walks in the door, they know that they're going to have an experience that facilitates joy, or right, helps them to be the best version of themselves. But we have to do that consistently, right? Our membership model is not broken. It's how we help people create those experiences. But like we said, we've got to be consistent. We started, right, using this term rigor, right, Christian, and rigor around how we provide the service and meet the expectations of those that are walking through our door, not just at one Y, but all of the Ys that Christian and I are responsible for, and all of the Ys across our movement. Like, how do we do that? And that isn't easy, but that's where we got to go. So
I love it, that consistency, like where you go, no matter, because I do love the fact that when you've seen one Y, you've seen one Y. Right. But there are some things that should weave through any experience that a person has in a YMCA. I love that, Margo. That's
baseline, you are going to get this. And it may not be the same programs, but when you walk in, you're going to get that same service. And you have, right, from whoever you talk to, and not just the person at the front desk, from those folks at Health and Wellness, from us, right, and on the leadership team, right? There's that thread woven through our organization of how we serve folks. So, Christian, jump on that.
Yeah, no, I think, kind of even using the rigor word, if we go back in time, this isn't a new conversation, right? I mean, we kind of have this conversation on Monday and forget it by Friday, and then we're back again on Monday about it. But, you know, I love Keith's comment, you know, with the games and the seniors, but, you know, I make the argument with our staff, we have those pockets everywhere, right? Like, I'm a 5 a.m. guy. There's a group of guys every 5 a.m. They have their own group text. They talk to each other. They know who's out and where they're going to be. Stay-at-home moms who all show up at 9:30 for their group exercise class with the kids in the kids zone. They're all there to see each other. The after-work group. And where I think we fail is the connecting of all those dots, right? We get so accustomed to the people who are sitting in our lobbies and think, great, these are our groups, that we lose sight of all the people in our group exercise classes, or all the people in our water exercise classes, or all the people that are even lap swimmers that show up at the same time. They all know each other. They have those relationships. And I think where we tend to fail is I think our marketing and communication of that, right? We communicate when lap lanes are available, not when networks are available. We communicate when group exercise classes are available, but not necessarily when relationships can be built, right? So I think it all ties back to that conversation of how we communicate these things. And I think to Keith's question and kind of Margo's response is not even so much that facilities are the same, although that is a huge priority, but the experience I get at one location is the same that I get at another location. And it could be two completely different activities, but the experience should be the same. Yeah. The greeting at the front door, the greeting in class, the communication that takes place. And I think that's the challenge that we have. And one of the things we kind of uncovered through our process was where we felt as a membership model is where we were failing. It wasn't the pricing. It wasn't the categories. It was this consistency from location to location to location of this welcoming environment, this introduction to other people. It's, all of that kind of stuff. And not just at the 8 a.m. group that's playing, Rubik's Cube, right? It's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, all of that kind of stuff. How do we build that consistency throughout our days and throughout our locations?
Christian, let me ask you this question. Your 5 a.m. group, did the staff put that chat together, that group chat together?
Yeah, no, it happens organically, right?
Right. And so here's my question to that is that when you talk about the 5 a.m. chat, when I look at our seniors going to
the casino, that's where they go.
Right.
I told you, they go to Denny's.
They go to Denny's.
I was trying to frame that one just a little bit different. I didn't want to. But Christian, when I think about that right there, all of that is organic. So how do we plan, quote unquote, for that? Yeah. I mean, because you don't plan for things that happen organic. So what happens to bring these groups together?
To me, that's the staff interaction. I think, like I didn't create the group chat, right? I didn't put that together and start creating phone numbers and stuff, but if you're the morning fitness center floor guy or girl, or you're the front desk person, are you walking your building and when you see Keith working out, talking to his buddies, you're like, hey, Keith, have you met Christian yet? He just joined yesterday, right? Yeah. And then you get out of the way, because where it gets screwed up is when we start trying to force things, right?
Yeah.
But if we're not engaging and not having those conversations, that's what makes it hard. And I always look at it that, and not every case, of course, but in a lot of cases, your opener knows everybody, right? Everybody knows them, right?
Yeah.
And your 8 a.m. person is probably pretty good, and your 11 o'clock person is probably pretty good. I feel like as the day goes along, our staff relationship building just kind of goes down, right?
It's true.
And, but that's what Margo and I kind of got into with our teams was why does that happen? Where's the consistent training and expectation and using our word that kind of became our catchphrase of just this rigor of how do you set this expectation so that it's always there and it's consistently there? And I think our job as CEOs is constantly driving that message, right? And I think it's the importance of us getting out to our locations and seeing what's going on and experiencing them. But it's the same thing with childcare. It's the same thing with summer camp. I mean, everybody has a summer camp. Everybody has a sports program. Everybody's got a fitness center. Everybody's got a pool. Everybody's got fields, So what's the competitive edge is really that relationship piece. And it's building on that. It's letting somebody know when they walk through the door, they're not going to flounder. We're going to show you how to work out, but you know what? I got Mrs. Jones over here who's going to teach you how to play Rubik's Cube too. And she's going to be here every morning at 8 a.m., But how do you build those connections?
Not going to let you win.
Right, exactly.
And let's be real, right, Christian? Like part of it, when you say what's our responsibility as CEOs, how we behave as staff and with our new staff coming in, right?
Yeah.
And how we bring them in and how we connect them to other staff, how we connect them to the work we're doing. If we're not doing a good job of that, then how are we expecting them to connect when Bill comes in, right? When Keith comes in and says, hey, I saw you like to play basketball. There's a 5 a.m. group coming in, right? That's our responsibilities to create that space and that culture for folks folks to say, I feel like I'm a part of this organization. I'm going to connect you to somebody, or, just talk them to in the hallway so they don't come in and leave without having that connection with somebody. But that staff behavior and culture and how we arrive, that I think sets a huge tone for how our staff behave. And then hiring and putting lifting those staff up. Do they understand that, like, the people that are serving at our front desk and in our kids corner and our lifeguards, how important they are to the well-being of the folks that walk in that door? It's huge.
Sure.
It's huge.
And I love the comment at the beginning about transactional, right?
Yeah.
As that was kind of the phrase where, we're really good about transaction. And I have conversations with our staff all the time that if we were as good at relationships as we are with transactions, we would never have to worry about a transaction again.
You're right. That's a t-shirt right there. That's a t-shirt.
We will spend some time on some transactions. Like, our policy says this, Article 1.33. And
train.
Yeah.
Like, come on, people. Let's just make people happy. Like, give them an experience.
Yeah.
That's right. But that's where the training's at, though, right? I mean, the training is, this is how our computers work. This is how our systems work. These are the forms that have to be filled out.
That's what we're in our reviews. That's what we're reviewing, our evaluations. Yes.
Exactly.
Where you pay the most attention, right? What you measure.
That's right. That's right.
Where you get it.
So Joe, with that in mind, from your kind of bird's eye view, how is the hiring? Because Margo hit on something. Not only do you have to help acclimate people when they get in, it goes all the way back to, are you hiring the right people?
Right.
And then when you get them in, are you helping anchor in them that this is more than a transactional experience? Are you seeing a shift across the movement in that mindset? Because admittedly, that wasn't always the case.
Hey, you know what? Over the past 2 years, I think we were looking for somebody with a pulse that could stand upright.
Okay, come on in.
It's been tough.
And
it has been tough. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, and that's so common, right? We're hearing that across the movement. If you're in a local Y, right, you feel it every single day. Mm-hmm. And so, we've had a lot of conversations just this past week in some in spaces that I've been in, where I'll tell you, these membership directors, these senior membership directors, these branch execs, they're trying to figure out ways to, how do I do 10 things with 5 people, right? Right. And so looking at things like automation, how do I scale things? How do I make it easier for us to deliver? I think the challenge is that the tendency is we want to automate the relationship building so that way we have more time to sit behind these devices. We need to flip that script, right? And it all comes to what you were just talking about. It all comes down to, you talked about it in the sets of training. I'll just say, what are we prioritizing? Say all day long, the relationship business, but are we prioritizing that in the workflow of every single staff member? I'd rather be automating, looking at AI, looking at communication platforms that can automate, transactional platforms that can automate the back end. So that way our front desk staff are doing this, typing on their computers. They're to build relationships, right, to make those connections.
So I'll tell you that is a direction that we've gone. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy, and we're still not there. But so what we ended up doing, and we did this during COVID, it was kind of a staff kind of get together. But so we created a call center, which a lot of Ys have. So we have a call center. So every single phone in our organization goes to the call center. So our front desk phones don't ring anymore. So everything goes to a call center now. So the whole point of that was twofold. One, I needed to reduce costs. So I was like, okay, I don't need 2 people at the front desk now. I need 1, right? So we hired X number of people, and unfortunately, kind of let a few people go. And so our front desks are limited now. Now we're at the point where we have gone to where everything is online. So if you come into a branch and you're like, hey, I'm here to sign up for a membership, the staff are friendly, the staff are there, but they will either walk you through how to do that on your phone, or they'll hand you an iPad, or they'll walk you over to where we have these little, computers with keyboards, because some people like a mouse and a keyboard. And they'll walk you through how to do that on your own, so that we're not doing that anymore. So we're trying to remove transactions away from our front desk. The challenge we're hitting now is literally just in the meeting on this yesterday is getting our staff to give that up, right? Because that's a comfort level. That's easy. Doing the transactional stuff is easy. Walking around and talking to people and connecting, and that's hard. That's actually hard work.
Right.
That's hard.
Right.
And so now we're in this shift, and this is where we're starting to get dramatic. We're going to test it at a location, I think, in like 2 weeks. We're actually going to pull the front desk out. We're going to completely rip it out, recover it up. So we're just going to have little stand-up tables in our lobby, almost like when you walk into the Apple store, right? And everybody's walking around with an iPad. And the point is to get to this level where people feel comfortable just talking, right? And socializing and helping people out. But I thought it would be easy. To Margo's point, I thought staff would be like, oh, I get to walk around and talk to people? Awesome. But we're finding, no, they're all gravitating to even our membership directors are just gravitating to the front desk where their computers are. So we just felt like, okay, great. We're gonna pull them all out. We don't have one anymore.
Margo, what unique things are you guys doing?
Well, I think similar to what Christian's doing, right, is getting people from behind the computers, but it is like pulling teeth. And so our focus has been more on that wellness staff and how we engage people, because you got the folks that are just, right, they're having that relationship with the treadmill. And if that's the only relationship they have, they're not going to stay around. And so on our side, it's like our floor trainers are really out there. They can't be behind a desk, no desk. You're not sitting back there, right? And that's the approach to go. So yeah, I think for us too, it's on the training side. What is our focus on training? How are we onboarding folks, and what emphasis we're putting on? And so actually, we just had a meeting about that today. So and it's onboarding from the initial, when somebody puts their paperwork in through, right, our payroll system. How does that start? What is that experience? Because I really do believe, to your point, Christian, right, if we don't start training them from the get-go, this is how we behave, then we're going to lose them, right? But the old habits, y'all, are so hard to break, right? It's safe behind that computer, and nobody's going to holler at me. Nobody's going to be upset with me. I can sit back here and hide behind it. So, So,
or I might not have this awkward conversation.
Right.
Right.
One of the things that we did was that when you talk about hiring people, we went to a personal training model that we're putting a lot of emphasis on that. So smaller branch hired a personal trainer named David. David came in. I told him, hey, David, one of the big things, we haven't had that much personal training, so you got to get out and meet the people. Gets on the floor, begin to meet people. And so appointments start to get set up. So we go from the 0 to several personal training. And then we put them into, we put exercise classes on the floor. So we had small group exercise classes. Yeah. David gets some small group of people, and now it's becoming infectious, right? Like people start to gravitate towards his class. And then it becomes this competition thing. Like people start signing up for personal training, me being one of them right there. And he inflicts us with this pain that
I like it.
And then what happened was that, we're bragging about how much pain he put us through. Well, you had this much. No, you ain't had as much as I did. I had this much pain. But and then this is built towards this. More people are signing up now for personal training, and all of this coming from an individual because we hired him at the right place. He's going up and we trained him over from personal training to group exercise. He's created this cult-like following in his class and when I say inflicting pain, I don't mean that lightly. I'm not joking about that part. Like my appointment is on Monday. On Wednesday, it's still knocking at the door like, hey.
Right. But I think that is the point, right? So like Christian just said, these are some of the innovative things like that we're doing, right? And we need to do those, and we need to test them, and then we need to share them with the other wives, right? This worked here. And so folks can try them, and we don't want to take our foot off the pedal there. But what you just said, it's not complicated, right? We're doing some amazing things, but are we doing them well? Are we doing them consistent, right? And are we telling people about what we're doing, right? And like Christian said to begin with, how are we communicating that? But I think there's these two different paths that we have. Do this really well and do it with people who love it and it fills their cup. And then don't stop innovating and renovating what we're already doing and sharing that out there with the movement, because there's some awesome stuff that's happening. Christian, I love the idea about, hey, take the desks away.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I can't wait to see how that shakes out with desk style. Oh, wow.
Joe, what are you guys coming from YUSA, Lynn, to kind of share some of the, I guess you guys were in a cohort, and like, what are some of the things that now your great outcomes that you've seen, some data points that you can share with otherwise across the movement?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, coming out of the member experience cohort that Christian and Margo helped lead, I mean, and they've said this, right? We wanted to go test things like Christian's talking about, other ideas that are out there, cool things that are happening. But what we recognize is that before we can test any of these innovative practices, we have to build and commit to a movement-wide operational rigor and excellence culture, because we're lacking. I mean, let's not beat around the bush, right? We are lacking the ability to deliver innovative change across the country.
And that's the beauty of the innovation process. Like, you start off thinking you know what you want to do. And if you really stay true, right, the whole idea of the rigor, if you stay true to the model and you work the steps, you will realize, I might have to backpedal a little bit. Because
there's not a magic pill.
The beginning is not the beginning.
That's right.
There's not a magic pill. There's not a silver bullet.
No,
so
not at all.
We have tools. We have tools that we have ready to go. We have tools that we know we're going to build. We have tools that are ready for innovation. But before we can go and deploy these things nationally, really the focus, and this is where Allie's work, we talked about Allie a little bit ago. Allie's work is going to be, we're going to be launching all of these practice areas, these leading practices, and all of these core areas around the YMCA. And we're going to be inviting Ys to participate in these rigorous experiences where we are building that movement-wide commitment. But before you can participate, right, in one of those, we're going to ask Ys, CEOs, and their closest, highest level leaders to go through this intensive learning experience with us. Through the CEOs and through their direct teams, we can build the rigor that's needed to then go and deploy a great idea that Christian doing with his lobby or the next one down the street. So that really, when we talk about coming out of that innovation cohort and listening to the innovation process, we thought we were going one direction, right? We're going to deploy all these resources. We realized we got to start at the bottom, but we were able to pivot, and that's the direction we're going to be going into 2024.
That's powerful, right? To come out and study and know that we've got a good model. We've got a solid model. Go ahead, Christian. Sorry.
Well, I just was going to say that in kind of to Keith's question, like what was the biggest learning? And it was probably the first phone call that we did with Margo and I. The biggest thing we learned is the number of directors that we have, so membership directors, in a lot of cases, vice presidents for YMCAs and small Ys and large Ys that had no idea that the resources even existed at YUSA, right? So that's the first like kind of ball that gets dropped, right? And I always say this, and Margo's heard me say this in our meetings, and I'm a CEO, she's a CEO. We all think we're smarter than the other CEOs, right? So we all think we've got the idea, right? We've got the best idea. Our idea is going to work, and this is where we need to go. And having been in this movement for a long time, I mean, I can go back to 1990 to today. We are not talking about anything new. We're just changing the name. We're just repackaging it. We're calling it something else, but we're literally doing nothing different today. We're having the same conversation today that we had in 1990, which is basically be nice to people, connect people, and let them have a good experience, And that's all we're talking about.
There's no robot that can replace the niceness of people.
No human being.
I don't care. I can be a futurist and say in 100 years that part surely can't change.
Very Jetsons.
Correct. And the other thing that came out, and this really kind of came back to the McKinsey study and stuff that we talked about on the cohort as well, is a big part of our membership challenge are old and outdated facilities. It's not the model. It's not staff. It's just buildings that we may need to walk away from, or buildings that need to be rebuilt, or, whatever the case is. And, McKinsey actually pointed out in their study that a Y on this corner, if it moved 2 miles down the street, would double its membership. And yet we're terrified to walk away from the Y 2 miles down the street to go build a new one, or we can't get our head wrapped around it. But we'll continue to reinvest in a Y that we shouldn't be reinvesting in. We should be moving 2 miles down the street, because you got to follow your communities and your demographics. And So it was a very interesting conversation, but the reality is once we dove into this with staff from again, Y's all over the country, it was shocking to me, and quite frankly, even in the alley, that people didn't even know the resources existed. Like people who had been membership directors or directors of membership for associations were creating trainings, not knowing that all of that had already been created and tested and ready to go, and just take that and use it, So for us, we're finding simpler ways to operate, but we're utilizing the YUSA resources to deliver our stuff,
All right. So Big Joe, I'm gonna have to come back to you because you are the representative on this call, at least, but the keeper of all the information. Where can people find the information?
It is ready to be accessed today, right now. Log into link. On the left-hand side, you'll have your menu. There's an option called Communities. Just click on that. It's super simple because we know how important membership is. Right there in that first menu is going to be membership. Click right there. Right along the top, you're going to have several categories in that membership community. One of those is Y Experience, and all of the tools and resources are there. So they're ready to be accessed today.
I love it. Can y'all believe it's been almost 30 minutes? We need another minute. Oh, gracious, this is some good stuff. I tell you what. If all of the CEOs are moving like Margo and Christian, I'm feeling real good about this. Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Thank you so much, Christian, Engle, Margo, Byrne, and Joe Kovacic for being on this installation of our Y Innovation series. It has been
thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
And look, before we sign off, though, we got to give props to our producer, Miss Lachey Leonard.
Hi, Lachey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to the CAUSENETIC podcast.
Hey, subscribe and listen to us weekly.
And don't be shy. Give us a 5-star review.
And as always,
be dynamic,
be phenomenal,
and be
CAUSENETIC. That was, y'all.
We need a part 2.